Phatudi,
Good morning, Chief Justice.
is it fair to assume that you are not nervous at all?
Well, it comes natural, I take.
Oh, I see. All right.
Yes.
Well, for how many years have you been a judge?
It's 8 years now.
8 years.
Yes.
And are you part of the group of judges who are now in Limpopo, or are you still in Gauteng?
We have written letters that we requested to be transferred over to Limpopo. And from the beginning of the year, from the 25th of January, they gave us letters of appointment as acting judges in the Limpopo division pending the finalization of the transfer processes and the signature by the president, I would assume.
So you are in Limpopo already?
Yes, I've been in Limpopo already, and the appointment has been extended up until the 30th of June this year.
And incidentally, that's where you grew up. That's the place you're familiar with.
That's the place I'm familiar with, yes.
Yes.
I practiced in Limpopo.
Yes, yes.
Correct.
For the time you have spent there, what problems or challenges have you noticed, and how do you intend to deal with them so that the court can perform better?
Firstly, I'd love to indicate that because it has been proclaimed, we have 3 divisions, let's say the main division and the 2 local divisions. The one is the Limpopo local division, Thohoyandou, and then the Limpopo local division, Lephalale, which has been proclaimed, and the main division. The Lephalale local division, as of now, hasn't been that much of an active because matters are still coming from that very particular division. The challenges that one saw in the Limpopo local division, Thohoyandou, for which I've been privileged to head, if I may use the word head, or to lead for, especially from the 25th of January up until the 1st of April, the JP gave me that privilege to run that division. And in that, that's where I then realized and found that there were quite a number of challenges. The said challenges would be the number of matters that are being, the criminal matters that are being put on the roll, which are not trial ready. By not being trial ready, I mean that the accused is still at large, has not been arrested as yet, but the matter is already in the High Court trial roll. Counsel for the legal aid at times would come to court and say, we didn't have the content of the file, and as a result, we are not ready to proceed with the trial. And those are some of the challenges that which one identified on the criminal section. And to rectify those, I intended that there should be a pre-trial conference to be held of all these criminal matters. In fact, the first 5 weeks, it's where I've identified all these problems. And during that, I implemented, with the permission of the JP, that we should then deal with the pre-trial of these matters that which are coming off. And based on that, it then said, if you can draw up a duty roster and a role, which I did, which I think that in itself, one can manage and see when these matters are coming to court, and the ones that which are postponed, and why are they being postponed. And once they are postponed because of the challenges that I mentioned, at times I say the matter should be removed from the roll, or if the contents of the docket is given to the counsel for the legal aid or the defense, then I would postpone it, but to a week or two, for them to familiarize themselves with whatever, and then on a Friday before they start trialing on a Monday, then they will have to come to my office and indicate as to whether they are ready and everything is to be proceeding. And based on that, for the latter part of the term, for the 5 weeks, I personally managed to finalize about 4 criminal matters. But on the civil, okay.
Oh, yeah, carry on.
On the civil cases, I think the major challenges were matters that which retired judges are the ones who probably left them hanging. Left them hanging in the sense that, one, some may find that the matter has been heard. It's a trial matter, it has been heard. The judge reserved the judgment, and the judgment never came. But because of the judge being a retired judge and not being easily accessible, I discussed that with the JP and say, of all these these matters, why can't we get these files? One reads the evidence because it's already on record, and then prepares a judgment. But however, he persuaded me to say that won't be possible because if it's in a trial matter, then the credibility finding of the witnesses will be a problem. But in the motion proceedings, those are the ones that one can deal with those in that very particular. But however, I tried to, with the support staff, like the registrars and so on, requested them to identify all such matters so that we should then paste them on the roll and deal with them expeditiously as it's reasonably possible. And as of now, I think I can mention that there are about 2 matters that I've already placed on the duty roll for the term to be reheard and reconsidered in that very particular aspect. Yes.
JP?
Thank you, Chief Justice. I have no question to the candidate, Judge Phatudi. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Mr. Singh?
Thank you, Chief Justice. Judge Phatudi, the position that you applied for is a leadership position. Can you explain to this forum what skills and experience you can bring to this position if you are appointed, especially in assisting the Judge President?
Assisting the Judge President, as I indicated as of now, that we have 3 divisions, 2 local and the main one. What I intend to do would be, firstly, to coach up the practice directive in such a manner that as a Deputy Judge President, I'll be in a position to can regulate the issues and matters in the local division, Thohoyandou, and the local division, Lephalale, and even the main division. And one might ask how would intend to do that. First would be the case flow management. Second, with the pre-trial system that which is in place, would be in a position or put me in a position to can deal with such matters in the local division Thohoyandou. We've made a point that the roll call is held on Mondays for matters that will be placed on the roll the following week. Meaning that once at the roll call, all the matters that will proceed to trial the following week will then be put on number of days, and judges will be identified and sent to the Thohoyandou local division to deal with such matters. But as I indicated that the local division in the Lephalale is still new, there is no much of infrastructure, but it's there on paper. But that will be dealt with as and when the volume of work comes in. And as a short-term basis, that's where I'm coming at and saying, first would be the practice directive, which would then allow me as the Deputy Judge President to can regulate that. The duty roster and the role is one of the key aspects that which one would have to deal with. Because we will be rotating all these judges from the main division. And once a matter is placed on the roll correctly, nicely in terms of that role, it will then be regulated in terms of that practice directive. Meaning that if a matter in Toyando will be running, then a judge will be sent there. He will be in a position, one, to prepare himself. A file will be then given to him, and even the travel and accommodation processes will then be dealt with. Same applies with the Lipalale issues will be there. But for all the other matters, for all the judges who will be available at that, then the roll call of the main division will then be dealt with the number of judges that are there at the time.
Thank you, Chief Justice. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, Commissioner Mutimele. And Judge Phatudi, so far as possible, if you can just be direct in answering your question unless it's unavoidable.
Okay.
They will ask for elaboration if they need it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice Towela, Judge Phatudi.
Mongaka,
Le tsogile.
re a leka ka botjha.
Awa. Thabela le bona.
Mare.
Page, if I may, direct your attention to page 4 of the questionnaire, number 6. Have you found that, Judge?
Yes.
There's something that disturbed my sense of how I understand the Constitution, and it's very fundamental. Of course, you understand the three organs of the state, is that not so?
Correct.
The judiciary being one of them.
Correct.
And that judges are appointed, not employed, is that not so?
Correct.
Now, if you look at what you say in 6, please furnish chronology, particulars of employment since leaving school. Roman figure 2, which is the third, should have been 2. You said Judge of the High Court from 2009 to date, employer, the President of the Republic of South Africa. Can you see that?
Correct.
I want to afford you the opportunity because I've told you how it disturbs me to think that judges work for the President of the Republic of South Africa. I don't even think judges are public servants.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
No, I think you are right. The only thing is that maybe when he wrote that the president is because it's the president who signed the certificate of appointment as the judge.
You don't work for him.
No, not at all.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Mutimele. Commissioner Helen, some of them write that they are employed by the Department of Justice. Yeah. Most of them.
No.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Judge, as a Deputy Judge President, you'd fill in for the Judge President whenever he was absent, and you would take on such duties as he allocated to you, that we understand. So I would test your suitability to be a Deputy Judge President, rather, as against your ability to be a Judge President as well. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Now, would you say that it's the function of a JP or a Deputy JP to monitor the work of his judges, to look at their judgments from time to time, not to interfere or act as an appeal court, but just to see that standards are generally kept up?
Judges are independent. All that might be administered is when are they delivering the said judgments. But that of the content of their judgments, I'm afraid we may not even go to that deep to that end because of their independence.
You wouldn't take it upon yourself occasionally to look at judgments coming out of your judges not acting as a judge of appeal, but just monitoring the quality of the work coming out of your division. You wouldn't do that.
No, we'll do that. As if you're talking of the quality of work, yes, we'll do that.
You would.
Yes.
And do you feel capable of judging that quality of a fellow judge? I'm not talking about being a court of appeal. I'm just saying keeping an eye on standards, structures of judgments, apart from delays, etc. Just looking at the content.
Well, at the structure of it, yes. Maybe one can look at that as well.
You're aware of the case of Minister of Safety and Security versus Linda, where your judgment was taken on appeal to the full bench. Minister of Safety and Security and another versus Linda.
No,
Full bench of Murphy J, Kubushi J, and Kumalo AJ. Not aware of it.
no.
You're not aware that your judgment was overturned on appeal in somewhat harsh terms.
It hasn't been brought to my attention.
It's been reported in the Law Reports 2014, Volume 2, Criminal Law Reports 464. You haven't noticed that a judgment of yours has been overturned, number one, and number two, overturned in somewhat harsh and strident terms. No.
No, no.
Well, I suggest you read it, and I suggest it's a failing of you, and I'd like you to answer that, not to follow what happens to judgments of yours that go on appeal, because that's how one learns. It's a matter involving an arrest without a warrant, where the appeal court in short found that you applied the wrong test on whether there should have been an arrest or not, and then secondly, that there was a paucity of reasoning on the damages. The court said normally, without saying, a judge should set out the facts and his or her reasoning in relation to an award of damages, and they go on to find that you did none of that. It was almost a figure plucked from the air. You did not know about that.
No, I did not know about that, but normally when there's a judgment from the full court, they would normally give it to us so that when we learn from our mistakes. But that was never brought to my attention.
But don't you read the law reports when they come out?
Well, we do have a glance and peruse them at times, but as I'm saying that at most, this is what we are expecting, or that's what we have been agreed upon, that if there's any judgment that has been turned out, then it will be brought to the judge's attention.
I have a difficulty on a number of levels. One, you appear not to read the law reports. Two, you don't follow what happens to judgments that are appealed against. And three, as a DJP aspirant, you don't seem to have the qualities in judgment writing to even oversee, in the most neutral sense of that word, other judges.
I hear you.
Thank you, CJ.
Helens, Advocate Semenya.
Chief Justice, I thank you. Judge, good morning to you.
Morning.
I am one to accept readily that all judges must have access to the full spectrum of work that comes to their division. But isn't there something to be said about trying to match complexity of matters with how senior or junior a particular judge is in relation to the entire bench?
I think so, that is.
Would you consider that useful to take into account when allocating work to judges if appointed?
Yes, I'll do so.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner Semenya. Commissioner Singh.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Again, following on Commissioner Motumela. He's the senior here. When you stated that, Judge, good morning, by the way.
Good morning.
Stated that you were employed by the President of the Republic of South Africa. I thought it quite a coincidence that when I looked at 16.4, at judgments that were successfully appealed, Two of them were versus the President of Republic of South Africa. Number 1 and number 3. Now, can you just give us a bit of a background on those two cases, or either one of them that you can recall, the Mansing case or the Incidents Z case,
Well,
and why you reached the judgment that you did?
well, the Mansing case is the matter of the senior counsel status, which, when I considered the matter, looking at the Constitution at the time, my interpretation was that the President does not have the power to confer the senior status to the advocate. But however, the Supreme Court of Appeal and that of the Constitutional Court settled the law in that respect, for which I learned from their judgment, and that's what it was. But in any event, because all judges, we preside and administer justice to all persons alike without fear, favor, or prejudice. That's what it was.
And again, the Zeni case, if you can recall just briefly.
The Nzeni case, if I recall well, it's the matter where the chiefs of the Toyando area who had applied that they should be given the stipends or continue to be paid some stipends in that very particular. I found not to be consistent with the law, and as a result, I then dismissed their claims. But however, on appeal, I think they confirmed the order, but however, the reasoning that which came up there to me was more educative, and I'm following their law as well.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Singh. You are excused, Judge Phatudi.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir. Colleagues, we're going to proceed with the judges. We'll deliberate when it's all done for Limpopo. Thank you.